Deputy Speaker, the leadership of the House, members of House of Representatives, I once again stand in front of you with the greatest respect and honor. I would like to be a bit deliberate on my presentation so that we cover up all the various aspects that's required. I want to start by most profoundly appreciating all our amiable honorable members of the highly respected hallowed Green Chamber for care and concern for the citizenry, which obviously is the main reason you extended this invitation to us. I'm further delighted when I recall that it is also an opportunity to acquaint you with the activities of the armed forces and security forces, and further seek your intervention in some areas so as to enable us to perform our constitutional responsibilities seamlessly. I think it's a great opportunity for us to be here. My belief in the legislature is as a veritable arm of government, and the great role you have been playing accounted for our presence here today. We have the utmost belief and trust that our interaction today will change so many issues, solve challenges, and reinvigorate the armed forces of Nigeria to optimally perform its assigned roles. Since our assumption to office in June this year, we have visited all the various areas of our operations and engagements to evaluate the situation and identify ways of addressing the various identified challenges. Additionally, we held meetings together jointly to enhance jointness with stakeholders in all the states that were scheduled for the recently concluded off-season elections, and I'm sure the outcome and the performance of the security forces has been highly commended. This development largely contributed to the peaceful electioneering activities which eventually yielded the expected outcome. We want to ensure that henceforth we provide adequate security during all elections and all other activities. Our submission before you, therefore, is a product of what we saw in the field, evaluated in the process, and deemed it necessary to acquaint you as appropriate so that we can all forge the way forward. Now let's look at the general security situation. It's a common knowledge that Nigeria as a nation has over the past decade grappled with various forms of security challenges which are adjudged as the most precarious in its national history. These challenges range from the nefarious activities of the Boko Haram insurgents and their affiliated terrorist groups, which started in the northeastern part of the country and gradually transcended to other regions of the country, particularly in the northwest and north central regions. In the same vein are the activities of organized armed groups in southeast and south-south, the rampaging menace of criminal headsmen in various regions across the country, and similar other sources of threats to our national security. Accordingly, the Defense Headquarters, which is responsible for coordinating and directing the efforts of the various services, has spearheaded the establishment of some DHQ-led operations. They have been mentioned. They include Operation Haɗin Kai in the northeast region, Operation Hadarin Daji and Wild Punch covering the entire northwestern states, while Operation Wild Stroke and Safe Haven covers the entire north central states. Similarly, our Operation Udoka in the southeast, while Operation Awate in the southwest, and Operation Delta Safe in the south-south region, all of which are being conducted to ensure peace and security in Nigeria. Furthermore, to these major operations are subsidiary operations by the various services such as Operation Hakor in Damisa, in the wake of killings in Mangu local government area, Plateau State, Operation Thunder Strike mainly to secure the Kaduna-Abuja and Abuja-Lokoja highways by the Nigerian Army, Operation Diran Makia by the Nigerian Air Force, and Maritime Awareness and Domination Operation by the Nigerian Navy through the conduct of Operation Dakatar da Barao and Inchekwa Oshimiri, which is largely anti-piracy and domination of our waterways for the protection of our maritime assets, necessary for security against illegal bunkering and ensuring the growth of the blue economy, which is the brainchild of the present administration. These operations have recorded numerous successes, as evident in the significant decline in the rate at which villages are sacked, civilians are killed in large numbers, military bases and offices of other security organizations are attacked, as well as reduction in the rate of population displacements. Security is not a switch that today it starts and tomorrow it is off. It's a work in progress. And what we always say is that security is everybody's responsibility, not only members of the armed forces or other security agencies, but everybody has.
Doctor, please.
In all these operations and conscious of our obligations under the international and domestic human rights law, planning and conduct of these operations have prioritized the protection of civilians and properties, as well as to ensure that operations do not unduly affect the enjoyment of fundamental rights of Nigerians except as permitted by law. We have trained our troops to ensure that wherever we conduct, we respect the people we are protecting. And that's why our mandate is protection of Nigerians. All citizens are equal and all citizens must be protected. We have adequately warned our troops. Any of them who errs, we have standing court martials to deal with such people, so we do not take prisoners. This conscious approach has also helped to win the hearts and minds of the civilian population in our AORs and gather international support from our allies. Now, to achieve this, we put a number of measures in place. Firstly, during our meetings, we try to deepen jointness in operation, because it has to be collaborative, cooperative together. We reflected the inherent jointness in all operations and training, introduction of component commanders in major operations, basic and advanced training on air-to-ground integration, which is critical to our operations, key to the successes we have recorded. We have also institutionalized joint doctrine through a joint doctrine center, which we are looking at, because now all operations are joint. We are reorganizing of all joint operations completed. DHQ has 11 led operations. We have mentioned them before. For joint operations reorganized to improve offensive capability of our troops. Before now, we used to have situations where we await for the enemy to attack. Now, troops have been directed to go out, look for the enemy, and neutralize them. We block deployment gaps within our theater of operation. We have observed a lot of operations, areas that have been left, which the enemy is using. We have blocked those ones now. We're enhancing our command and control capabilities. In the Northeast, elimination of remnants of Boko Haram and ISWAP members is on the front burner. We know normally after the rainy season, they will tend to want to enhance their attacks. That we have also addressed, because operations have already been conducted. So far, over 140,000 terrorists have surrendered. I had the privilege of being the theater commander of Operation Hadinkai for 19 months. We started the surrendering exercise, and before I left, we had over 75,000 that have surrendered, both the terrorists and their family members. And as we have continued now, as we speak, we have over 140,000 that have surrendered, all awaiting the disarmament program. No territory in Nigeria is being held by the terrorists. That is very clear. No terrorists. We may have them moving here and there, but none that is under their command. The DDR, the disarmament program for the surrendered terrorists, is what is being awaited. Processes are being done and it's continuing. In the North Central and the Northeast, we equally have some that have also found out that they cannot win and they are willing to surrender. In the Northwest, we have reduction in armed banditry in the Northwest and kidnapping, domination of the theater of operations, aspects of illegal mining. In the North Central, we have reduction in tourist migration to Niger and Kaduna states, degradation of the terrorists and Saradin sleeper cells in Kogi State, enhanced security measures in the FCT and the environs through air and land domination. Illegal mining in Niger State.
Honorable Soleja, please, you and your group, can you please be attentive?
In the South-South, we have increased oil production to 1.7 with a target of 2 million barrels per day by 31st December 2023. That's a mandate given to us by the President. So far, we're doing about 1.7, which we believe before the end of December, we should be able to hit 2 million. And that's the effort of every security agency. Over 950 illegal refinery sites were destroyed. Over 12 million liters of illegal refined products seized. Over 3,725 storage facilities destroyed. Addressing relations in drafting support operations. In the Southeast, we have neutralization of the IPOD ESN criminal network, reduction of attack on police stations and other locations, elimination of Monday sit at home, which we are working on. For the special forces, we are also enhancing the capability of our special forces. Areas we are looking at is the post-traumatic stress disorder of the troops, because some of them have actually operated for a very long period. We started the construction of a PTSD hospital where it will cater for them, because most of them, when they come back, they have this post-traumatic stress disorder that affects them and their relationship with their families, and we need to actually prepare them to reintroduce them back to their families, or else it will become very counterproductive. We look at better management of troops, the inducting from the mission, particularly those with PTSD. Now, where areas we need capability upgrade, force multipliers and enablers, we have the UAVs we're looking at, force protection, the MRAPs, counter-IED. The IEDs are the most dangerous aspects we're having, because those are the ones that actually give us most of the pains we're having now. modular platforms, manpower development increased. All the services have increased, have continued to sustain recruitment exercises. And we want to be deliberate because we want to be sure who we are recruiting so that we don't recruit the criminals that will come in again and become a problem to us. On the issue of re-engagement with international peacekeeping, currently we have troops deployed in Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Abyei in Sudan. Successful withdrawal troops from MINUSMA in Mali because of the situation there, and then pledged some infantry companies for deployment in the UN. Nigeria intends to be one of the leading countries in the world, especially in the Security Council. We can only do that if we maintain a very high number of personnel in the United Nations operations. So that's very critical for us. On defense and diplomacy, international cooperation, we deepen engagement through bilateral and multilateral operations with the Multinational Joint Task Force, military-to-military contact with friendly nations, UK, US, international sports engagement. Just recently, Armed Forces troops performed commendably in the Invictus Games in 2023 in Germany. For admin, we have issues of accommodation, which is very critical for all the services. Basically, so now part of the challenges we are looking at, inadequate platforms. You know, efforts have been made, funds have been released. But what we always want to appeal is that we don't produce what we need in Nigeria. If you don't produce what you need, which means you're on the beck and call of others that produce these items, all the items we procure are bought in hard currency, none in Naira. So most times when funds are released, by the time you convert those funds into dollars, it can only get you just very little. For example, during the last regime, about $1 billion was set aside for defense procurement. Out of that amount, over $600 million was for the procurement of the aircrafts. 600 million, so the whole money had gone. And that is the issue. For any ammunition we buy them in dollars. Every ammunition, and we spend in millions. So most times when people see that funds are being released to the armed forces, they think it is so much. But by the time you convert them to dollars, you can really not get so much. One precision missile for our drone costs $85,000. One. Just one. So imagine how many you will be able to use and how many you can procure. So those are the challenges. So inadequate platform presented by the lack of modern and sophisticated weapon system and advanced war machine is an impediment to the operational capabilities. The armed forces is grappling with the challenges of inadequate armored fighting vehicles, personal vehicles, mine-resistant and ambush.
Order, please. Order,
tanks,
please.
As well as recce vehicles. Additionally, the number of gun trucks, aircrafts, ships, things we're just contending with. Similarly, administration with the Nigerian Navy and Nigerian Air Force. I will not, however, fail to appreciate the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic for the unprecedented efforts of operationalizing the Republic of Nigeria for the Nigerian Army Aviation, which is very good and very critical for us. We also thank you, the House, for approving the funds that we require, and we're making efforts to try and get those things as soon as we get the funds. On leveraging emerging military technologies, the emerging military technologies manifested in the areas of artificial intelligence, robotics, and similar other needs to be exploited by the armed forces of Nigeria. Similarly, there is the need to exploit the contemporary global shift in the utilization of space technology and cyber warfare for national defense and security purposes. So far, we have initiated the process of establishing a joint cyber warfare and artificial intelligence command where such emerging technologies will be exploited to enhance capabilities of the armed forces of Nigeria. In a similar manner, the Defense Space Administration has completed the development of Innovation and Incubation Center, which is the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa. These outfits, which are installed with modern technological equipment, require continuous upgrade and enhancement, which are necessary to sustain the outfits in order to serve its purpose of establishment. I also require your intervention in this regard as to enable the armed forces to bring these desires to fruition. On the issue of accommodation, the challenge of accommodation facility within the armed forces and the police cuts across the services. It is worthy to mention that the armed forces recruit a minimum of 8,000 Nigerian per annum. I think about 14,000, because the Army does 12,000 yearly, the Air Force and the Navy. So we have about 15,000 per annum. However, this increase in the strength of the personnel in relation to those that are due for discharge and retirement has occasioned the increase in the manpower capacity of the armed forces. We have barracks we have not increased, and yet we are recruiting. Sadly, there is no corresponding increase in accommodation facility to cater for the basic human need for the personnel of our terms of shelter. Why is most of the troops are deployed out. By the time we start reducing the strength on ground, going back to the barracks becomes a problem because there won't be enough accommodation. This development therefore poses some negative effects on the morale and fighting efficiency of the troops. This situation will also require your intervention so as to ameliorate the challenges. Issue of funding for the operational purposes. The need for adequate funding of the armed forces to overcome the issues of combat supplies such as ration for the troops, petroleum, oil and lubricant, equipment and maintenance through the procurement of spare parts and similar others in these categories are necessary. To this end, there is the need for National Assembly to facilitate the continuous release of funds for the armed forces and the police for the purpose of overcoming the issues of combat enablers and combat suppliers, which are recurrent in nature but very necessary for sustenance of the troops. Non-encouraging media reports with the media. One of the challenges encountered is the fact that media often take delight in reporting the activities of terrorists and insurgents. Sometimes when we look at it, is bad news is good news to them, but it's demoralizing to the troops. So any attack by the insurgents or terrorists receives wide media reportage to the extent that the citizens begin to doubt the capacity of the government to protect them. However, the successes gains of the military and other security agencies are not either not reported or are reported just minimally. This does not endanger citizens of the armed forces and other government security agencies. This development has made the government to lose public confidence and the security agencies to lose the trust and sympathy of the populace, which ultimately encourages insurgents, terrorists, while affecting the government security agencies at all times. Areas of intervention that we're looking at. Having highlighted some of the challenges confronting the armed forces in the seamless execution of its operations, there are areas that I most sincerely solicit your support. These are briefly highlighted, just in a brief. Creation of defense and security intervention funds. The National Assembly should initiate a bill for legislation that will cater for extra budgetary allocation for the armed forces and police. This could be by requiring corporate organizations such as telecommunication airlines, communications airlines, oil companies, and similar others to designate at least 2% of its annual profit for defense and security purposes. We feel that will complement, because the budgetary allocation cannot actually give us what we require. In a battalion, an infantry battalion, we need about 88 APCs. None of the APCs is less than $2 million. So if you imagine for a battalion, we have God knows how many battalions. So the budgets cannot adequately fund the armed forces. Increased budgetary allocation for equipment procurement. The need to increase allocation of defense and security will be necessary. This will enable the security forces to bring fruition all this projection for establishment of infrastructure and outfits that could enhance national defense and security. Such infrastructure and outfits could include the establishment of the Joint Cyber Warfare and Artificial Intelligence Command, among others. We also looked at the issue of increase in salaries. I know increase of salaries is bringing a lot of issues, but I think for a private soldier in the army, it takes less than 50,000 for all the work he's doing, and I think it's not adequate. On the issue of allowance, RCA, ration cash allowance, where we feed, from myself as a general to the last soldier, I'm being fed on 1,500 naira per day. That's my feeding. Feasible and realistic plan for Medivac. There's a need to ensure that personnel who suffered life-threatening combat-related injuries or are at the point of permanent disabilities are evacuated abroad for advanced medical attention in the short term, while efforts are ongoing for the upgrade of the various military hospitals. All this will require...
Order.
Leader,
Order.
can you stand up for recognition?
Order, please.
Leader.
All this will require...
Mr. Speaker, there are so many leaders on this row, sir. You mean Leader Dogwa or Leader Jobe?
No, Leader Dogwa. Thank you very much. I'm sure you have been sitting now. You can sit down.
All this will require funding, which the House of Representatives will no doubt play some vital roles in this regard. Now, based on my experience, we have the privilege that all the four of us here were at Academy at NDA at the same time. I came in 1986, they came in 1987. We happen to also be from the same house at NDA, so we have known ourselves all this while, and that's why working together has made it very, very seamless in what we do. And that's why you never hear anything about rancor or infighting between anybody. We have mutual respect, mutual understanding that we have the same goal to bring peace to Nigeria, and that's what we focus on. Now, based on those experiences, those are some of the areas that I feel the legislative can also come into. Most times we tend to think that security is only the responsibility of security forces. And I said no. that everybody has a responsibility to play. We can never be everywhere. So we need education and sensitization program for all Nigerians to understand that security is everybody's responsibility. What you see, you talk about it. You don't just keep quiet and say it is for the police or for the army. No, everybody has a role. Our neighboring countries, if you enter there as a visitor, I give you 30 minutes, they know you are a visitor. Before you know it, the gendarme is coming after you because they report. But here, it's different. People tend to think that it is not their responsibility. We're not magicians. So we need to have a system where we can train from schools, from primary schools. Let every Nigerian understand that this is his country. Let him take ownership of security, and it will make it a lot easier. The awareness will be a lot easier, and then we'll take personal responsibilities. Now, we have also realized that the magic wand to addressing security challenges, good governance. Anywhere you have good governance, security goes down, insecurity goes down. Without which is a problem. The security forces can only provide 30%. We can only provide the enabling environment. If other aspects are not addressed, it is a problem. Security is not only military security. We have food security, health security, social security, education security. So all these play vital roles into achieving what we're doing. So if we don't put these things in place through good governance, it becomes a problem. In the Northeast, we're able to achieve so much because we had elements of good governance. We have seen governors that are willing and doing things to make the people happy, and that has transcended to the successes we're having. So it is important. Like I mentioned earlier, the issue of IEDs has remained the most potent threat we have. They put this IED on the ground because there are no roads. A vehicle climbs in, everybody in that vehicle is either killed or dismembered. So it becomes a problem. People can't eat. If people are hungry, no matter how you tell them to keep the peace, they will not, because they have to eat. And it aids criminality. So those are the aspects we're looking at, that it is important that we must have good governance wherever we are. Let everybody have this belief in the country, that this is his country and that he's been looked after. It makes it very easy. Border control. Nigeria is one area where our borders are porous. We have over 1,000+ borders. People can come in and out at will, and that's where we have movement of light weapons and small arms freely into Nigeria and out. Human trafficking is rampant. Use of drugs, rampant. Criminals come in at will and go at will. So please, it's important that we must be able to establish a good border control so that we can know who is coming in and who is going out. Forest guards. Niger State alone has over 73 forests. Niger State alone. All unmanned. Those are areas where these non-state actors use to project their activities. We must be able to find out how we can hold those places down together. The issue of judiciary. I've been in the Northeast. There were a lot of Boko Haram elements that have been captured and have been kept. We have kept them for over 5-6 years. We, the armed forces, cannot prosecute. We can only provide protection for them. Some of them have been found to be wanting, but no prosecution. So we're keeping them for this lengthy period. Everybody accusing the armed forces of keeping them against their human rights, but we cannot prosecute. So the issue of that one aspect. Another aspect of the judiciary is this. You do all your efforts. You make an arrest. You hand over. Before you enter your vehicle, the man is released on bail. Now you have risked yourself in doing that. By the time he is released, he goes to tell the people who you are, and then your family members or you are at risk. So it gets to a stage where the security forces are not even willing to do it, because once you get an arrest, the person is released. We have the issue in the South-South. A lot of the ships, the other ship that was arrested 10 years ago. It was arrested, it was handed over, the ship went and changed its name, changed its color, and came back again. 10 years later, we arrested the same ship. And by the time you hand over the ship, before you know it, it's released. So please, I think that's one area that we really need to look into. We must have special courts that can handle this. And that's why we had, the only option we had now is we arrest, and then we destroy quickly.
Order, please.
Because the longer we keep it, it becomes a problem. We come under pressure to release it, or when it is released, it is taken back. So please, it's one area that I think the legislature need to look into. The issue of correctional facilities. In the Northeast, when we got when we were debriefing some of the arrested Boko Haram elements, so they were telling us how from the prisons they could plan operations out in the field. From the prisons, they plan operations. They pass funds across, and we said how. They use some of the warders from there. We don't say all of them are bad, but they use some of them. They use their accounts to transfer money. And the deal is anybody's account who money is transferred to, they share 50-50. Those are the areas, those are the challenges we're having. And if you look at where we have the correctional facilities, they've all been occupied now. The Kuje facility, you have a school sharing wall with the prison yard. In Ibadan, the marketplace is where Agodi is where you pass to go to. So I think we need to really look at this critically for us to have good control in these areas. Now, sir, one basic area we're looking at is this issue of the Southeast. Simon Ekpa. So this individual has become a menace to this country.
Order.
Samuel Ekpa has become a menace to this country. So the country must act on it diplomatically. Finland is having a free way, encouraging him to do what he's doing. By his utterances and his actions, he's affecting what is happening in Nigeria. We should never allow that, sir. So I think our foreign service need to step in to address such issues. It's either we invite the ambassador or somebody, they must explain why they are protecting him. And he's doing us more harm because by his utterances, a lot of people are being killed. We cannot sit back and just keep quiet. I think it's very, very important, sir. Then the aspect, lastly, sir, the issue of illegal mining. Most of the crises we're having, especially in North Central, Northwest, issue for mining. Gold is being mined. The states are not benefiting from these things. We must take contract actions. There must be legislation on these issues so that we can have control. Let the states take over and be able to control so that people can have the benefit of these minefields. On the general terms, I want to say thank you for this opportunity, sir.